Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everyone? Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan here for one of our more unique podcasts of the year. It'll be a hybrid podcast in which we combine the tape review from the Eagles' win over the Panthers, along with the preview. Since this drops Wednesday morning and the Eagles play Thursday, we will preview the Eagles' Buccaneers. So we got that all wrapped up into one. A lot of content that we're going to deliver here in this podcast. So, buckle up, strap up. We got a lot to talk about. First of all, we will have our pregame show Thursday night, and a little bit of a change because Greg Cosell is not normally with us for the night games. But if you couldn't have Greg Cosell, but you wanted someone who is almost, just as adept at breaking down like that's what they do, then you couldn't ask for a better guest than what we've got. And that is Brian Baldinger. Of course, from NFL Films and what network? NFL Network, I think he's worked for. And
NFL Network. He does games on radio. Baldy and I go so far back. My gosh, for those of you in the Philadelphia area, we did what was called the Lou Tilley Sports Connection on CN8.
I remember that show.
Every Thursday, me and Kim Jones of NFL Network. Yeah, Kim, that was 2007, so 14 years ago. My math is terrible. So 14 years ago. So he's fun. And you know what I love about him and Cosell is they don't look at everything the same. So it's going to be good to get Baldy's perspective with our guy Avant. And that show, I'd have to tell you, that show that we just did with Cosell and Avant last Sunday, where you and I kind of just sat back and handed them the show, quite frankly.
That's what we like to do.
Yeah. It was so great to hear their analysis because they don't agree on everything. They see some stuff out of the same lens. It's just interesting to see a tape raider like Greg and a guy who played in the league. It's go great. And by the way, Baldy also played in the league. He was a guard for the Eagles and the Cowboys. So can't wait to have Baldy tomorrow night. And that's going to be phenomenal with Avant, you and I.
Definitely. And that's what I like, having the offensive lineman, the wide receiver. It's almost a little bit like having Trey, who we had last year. But now you get a wide receiver perspective and an offensive lineman perspective. And it'll be a great show. 5:00 p.m. Adjust your time schedules on our YouTube platforms and other social media, Inside the Bird social media platforms. So make sure you catch that. And we're going to have Brian Baldinger also. Yes, and please do that too. We'll have Baldy on the next Inside the Birds TV as well to not only get his impression from the pregame show, but kind of the bigger picture. How does he see what's going on with the Eagles through 5 or 6 weeks? So looking forward to that too. So a lot to cover. Why don't we start off really quickly, Adam, with our tape review part? Not really quickly, but we'll start off now with our tape review and start off with the offense, which was such a Jekyll and Hyde type of thing for 3 quarters. Very stagnant, very dormant. And then the fourth quarter, they were able to move the ball a lot better. What kind of things did you get from people you spoke to about why the offense was so lopsided?
Yeah, I mean, Hurts's inaccuracy. It was very much. It's in a way like Sam Darnold. But the thing is that the offensive line gave him enough time. That was one thing we didn't know when we dropped our post-game show on Monday morning. There was some stuff we did not know, and we didn't have a lot of information on the offensive line, and we did for today, Wednesday morning. And the offensive line, for the most part, protected well. And Derek Brown pushed the middle of the pocket. There were some times when Hurts couldn't step into the pocket, but overall in the first half, think about this, folks: 24 pass attempts. Under 100 yards, that's really hard to do. That now part of that's on Sirianni. You have to. I can't say this enough. When your quarterback isn't accurate, when they took away the screen game, they clearly did a great job of advanced work on the Eagles. They had their screen game snuffed out, and you got to try something else. It's not like you can't run against the Panthers. Like the Bucs, you can't. They're the number one run team, the defensive team in the league. They're like a wall, but it's not impossible to run against the Panthers. And I'm not saying they had to run the ball 15 times, but help your quarterback out. The word that we got, he was just indecisive. Everything was short. But let me turn my attention to the head coach who calls the plays. The other part of this is, and this is what I do not understand, you pass the ball 24 times, right? How does your tight end, Dallas Goedert, 88, who's up for a contract extension, not have one pass target? That's an absolute disgrace. I've talked to so many people who've looked at the Eagles tape and they don't understand. And these are people from around the league. We talked to Greg Cosell about it. He doesn't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Goddard, it should, like, your job is to get your playmakers the football, okay? Goddard is a playmaker. There's no physical presence in this pass game other than Goddard, and they don't understand how to. They just don't do it.
Yeah,
and this has got to change. This has got to change.
And the weird thing about it, and it makes you kind of wonder about his in the moment coaching, and that's fine because it's year one, but you still have to kind of wonder about it. Is that he himself, after the first lethargic offensive game, which was the San Francisco game, said it was important for him to remember that it's got to be players, not plays. But when you watch them come out, sometimes good against Kansas City, in this case, not so good against Carolina, it's clear that it's play calls that are his focus. And I go back to the point that I made in the last pod and also on our Monday night show on 97.5 The Fanatic, that I feel like he is trying to scheme this up so much for Jalen Hurts that he's not just actually – at no point does he say, all right, here's an offense that any NFL quarterback should run, whether you're mobile or not mobile, whether you got a strong arm. Here's just an NFL offense that you need to be able to execute if you're going to be a starter in the NFL. I don't see that part of the play calling from him. It seems like everything is suited to what can I make sure that Jalen Hurts does well. But that's not an evaluation. That's when you're only putting in a player in a certain type of position. You want to find out about the guy? Let him be a quarterback. Let the offense be an offense. And I think with this lack of running, they're not letting an offense breathe the way an offense should breathe, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And it's the offense is very random. When they struggle, it's not just the quarterback.
Right.
Help your quarterback. If you're going to throw as much, and once you see that they're getting the screen game, the good play callers, I understand Sirianni. I know I've been hard on him. Mm-hmm. I know this is only his 5th game ever calling plays. I get it. He's been very up and down with his play calling. The Kansas City game, he had a very good game plan, did a good job. Week 1, terrific. Dallas, terrible. Didn't help his quarterback who struggled in that game. His quarterback struggled mightily for 2.5 quarters. You could say 3 if you want, but they did hit the bomb to Watkins. But nevertheless, help your quarterback out, okay? Help him out. They could do as many. They probably are in top 3 in RPOs, if not number 1. I don't have the week's numbers. They were at one point in this season number 1 in RPO calls. Mm-hmm. Their teams are getting a beat on this. What is your second act? This is what doomed Chip Kelly. You need to try something else here. I'm calling for it. I happen to watch the what do they call it? NBC Sports Philly. I always call them CSN Philly. Your old company there. Yeah. With Seth Joyner made a very good point, and it's what we talked about on the pregame show on Sunday. RPO is not an offense. It's not a scheme. It's just something you do in addition to everything else you do. Right. It can't be the main focus of your offense. And Seth did a phenomenal job. We got to get him on here on ITB TV soon. It just explained it really well. It cannot be the focus of your offense. Even if it's okay if you're trying to make Hurts comfortable because this is what he did in college. That cannot be the sole focus of your offense.
Right.
And this is what Sirianni's got to change.
I would totally agree with you. I also don't think we're being harsh on Nick Sirianni. People are going to inevitably say, you guys are being rough. It's just his first 5 games. It's not fair. No, we are not calling for his firing. We're not calling for him to give up play calling.
I'm a fan of the guy, to be honest.
Yeah, we're not saying he's going to be doomed forever. We're simply pointing out the things that we're told by people who are a lot smarter than us, people who either coach the game or involved in the game, watch tape, say that this is not, befitting of someone who should be considered an expert play caller at the moment. So we're not saying he can't get there, but we can't sit here and be like, spend an hour saying he's going to get better, he's going to be fine. No, we don't know that. Not everything works out, not everything's a failure. So we just say it as it is in the moment. So we are not being too harsh on anybody, whether it's Jalen Hurts or Jonathan Gannon or Nick Sirianni.
Right. It's that individual game. What did it look like from our sources? Mm-hmm. When you and I watched, and this is what we see sometimes. And when they call a great game, we'll praise them. Hey, they were terrific. Like Gannon, we're going to give them some praise in about 15, 20 minutes. But the other part is, I've heard this before, but not quite from one of the people I spoke with. This scheme does not do a very good job by play calling to create advantages in matchups, particularly in the first 3 quarters. The Panthers played a high percentage of man coverage. It wasn't 50-50 man coverage versus zone, but enough man where they should have been able to get these guys open. I understand Jeremy Chin was everywhere. He was terrific in this game. Really, he was impactful, no question about it. It wasn't as though he was on Goddard every play. And even so, by scheme, like Kyle Shanahan, you want to know why George Kittle's a great tight end? Not only is he the best all-around tight end, I know he gets hurt a lot, but he's terrific because Kyle schemes him open. That's your job. Mm-hmm. This is where a senior offensive assistant, a guy who's called plays before, should be helping him. Because I just think he's grasping a little bit for plays. The term we've heard for a couple of people is very random. I think that really fits the way that he's calling plays.
Absolutely. Let's talk about these wide receivers because they can, as I mentioned before, they can be infuriating at times, but then they can also show you real promise. You know, when they're not committing penalties or stepping out of bounds or dropping a pass, what you're seeing is Devontae Smith emerge into a really refined wide receiver who can get open with great jab moves, great releases, everything, catch a lot of balls. And he'll probably be the leading receiver on this team, I imagine, when the year is over.
By far. Yeah.
And what you're seeing from Quez Watkins is the ability to make the big play down the field. I think what this team really lacks is an intermediary game beyond that. And again, that goes back to play calling as well. But I know that Quez Watkins played more snaps than Jalen Reagor. And I sort of question that. And I don't know if that's, coaching or, again, is it the targets? Is it how Jalen Hurts sees it? Because what I see from Quez Watkins is a shot play type of guy, but not a high volume receiver. I know people love it and people, he should play more. But what he's capable of giving you is the shot play. He reminds me in some sense, this is not an apples to apples, but like when you look at the Cowboys offense, their guys are Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, but when healthy, they're going to go deep every once in a while to Michael Gallup, right?
Yep.
John Brown, he used to play that role in the Cardinals or the Bills offense where he would be the shot play.
Yep.
Yeah, I think there's a role for Quez Watkins, but I don't think he's a number 2 receiver because he doesn't run the entire route tree and he's not a very physical guy. He's good. He can get the ball in the air, but they've got to figure out, I feel like we say this every pod, some kind of number 2 receiver role, a complementary role to Devontae
Goddard.
Smith. Either it's Goddard or it's Reagor. It's got to be somebody, right, that can get the ball and make something happen.
Reagor, I'm not. We're just not sure. I mean, I don't know yet. I'm a little bit disappointed that he has not had the production that I was expecting. Let's put it this way: I understand about the running out of bounds, and he needs to use his physical strength. He's pretty well built. Mm-hmm. He needs to make himself a better pass target where he commands the football. They need to use him they need to use him differently. The guy is built. You can't use him on crossers.
That's my point. The intermediary part. Yeah, you got to get the ball in his hand. Right. Don't just run him on go routes. Right. We bring up Debo 1,000 times, but there's got to be ways to get the ball into his hands because I feel like if you do that, he can give you more steady production than just shot plays. I think you have a good complement there. And if it's not him, then Dallas Goedert. But right now, as we try to figure out what the identity of the offense is, it feels like if Jalen and Devontae Smith are in a good rhythm, that's a great thing. But then when you need that secondary play to step up and have that chemistry with Jalen, it's just, who knows? It could be anybody on any given moment. It could be either Jalen, it could be Zach Ertz, it could be Goddard. And by the way, Goddard obviously on the COVID-19 list. I should have brought that up.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Podcast. Yeah, right. We'll get to that. That's
right. I mean, the chances aren't very good that it'll play, but just in general. And then I have a new term which somebody gave me. I've never heard this before. I had the guy explain it to me. Now I get it. So in my notes here, the term is they have no identity marker in their passing game. Mm-hmm. When pro personnel people grade tape, they try to get, because they have to put in their notes, so the coaches that they're turning it into in the front office, the front office, they try to give them an idea of what the tape looks like, because they'll have seen every game that the team has played in advance. Plus, sometimes they go actually, if it's the same staff, they'll say, hey, here's how they changed from last year to this year, but they don't have last year because this is a new staff. But there's no identity marker. There's nothing by personnel formation and variation to it that says this is what they are, because it's very random. So they don't have, okay, you mentioned Devontae Smith. There's no question he's their number 1 pass target by far. He's their guy. He's not very strong physically, but he's incredibly explosive, terrific route runner, great release. They don't have any physical presence in their pass game, absolutely zero. They could and should with Goddard. They don't have anything that they know that you mark every game. This is their identity marker. This is what they do. They don't have anything like that. You could go to Kyle Shanahan. He creates space for the receivers. Deebo Samuel is going to get open. Why? Because they create space to get him open. They don't ask him to win on his own. George Kittle, as I said earlier, they create matchups for him to win on his own. They don't ask him to win on his own. In 2017, Doug Peterson and all the guys who were helping him, they would run nearly the same plays every game, but run it to the right side, run it to the left side.
Right. They
didn't ask these guys, other than Alshon Jeffrey downfield, maybe to win vertically to edge out the DB, but they don't have anything that identifies their offense each week because they don't have anything. I understand it's 5 weeks. Well, maybe by weeks 10 or 11, okay, Goddard now is a physical presence over the middle. Rager now, he's involved now. Maybe Miles Sanders is finally involved now. They're using that speed. And this guy said it's ridiculous how much speed that they have at wide receiver, but these coaches don't know how to use it correctly or right yet, and that's it. So they don't really have a marker right now when you grade their offense. You just don't know what they are.
All right. Well, hopefully this ship gets right, after this Tampa Bay game and the schedule kind of settles out a little bit and maybe some kind of identity starts to form as we move forward. Offensive line, I thought was okay, Adam. I mean, you have to recognize, as we do, that Jordan Mailata was playing out of position. You're still with a rookie out there in Landon Dickerson. Andre Dillard seemed to play all right.
Played well.
I think that he's been – listen, I shouldn't take anything. I don't want to just say it sets up because he's not facing bull rushers. He's obviously bigger, more confident, and playing better, and they're using his athleticism, getting him on the move. Lord knows they ran a lot of screens, but they
didn't work. But yeah,
they didn't work. But I don't think that was his fault. But they're using him the right way.
Sirianni said, and it's true, they did some things on defense that they had not shown on tape, which happens. You know, what are you going to do? But you have to adjust to that. Hassan Reddick was playing with his hair on fire. He was everywhere. They had a mirror a little bit of on Hurts. You could see that going on. See, what I think happened here with Sirianni and being pass happy in the first half, they knew that J.C. Horn was out. They knew that Stephon Gilmore's not eligible to play yet.
Right.
And they know that A.J. Boye is an older corner. He's beatable. You'd rather have him if your Panthers is your third corner, not your starter right now. They had no depth at corner. But you can't let that override being smart with your passing game. And I think that's what happened right here. And then they put Temple Sam Franklin out there. He got beat. He was part of that on the deep ball that Quez Watkins handled. Sean Chandler had to start at safety for Justin Burns on IR. So I think Sirianni came in and said, "Oh wow, they're out two starters in the secondary. Let's go after them." You can do that, but you don't have to do that. Just completely ignore your run game. You got two very gifted running backs, and it's only 5 games. And I know it's you got a rookie play caller here, but he's got to know. He's got to know they have so many playmakers in offense. It's like night and day from last year. Got to get him the football.
There was a lot of tempo on that field in that game. Well, I mean, because Sean Bradley played a little bit, and then of course, Matt Rule is a Temple guy. Robbie Anderson was a Temple guy. So they're about to play another 2 Temple guys this week or on Thursday night with Bruce and Todd Bowles. It kind of is weird because earlier in the year they went back-to-back weeks against Penn Charter guys. It was Matt Ryan in week 1 and McGlinchey in week 2 for the 40. We've had a lot of local flavor this year, man. It's been pretty fun.
Sure. DJ Moore's from Philly.
DJ Moore from Philly, right? When they played the Lions, DeAndre Swift's from Philly. All right.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift. Yeah. So look, the offense is a work in progress. You just got to be patient. This is we'll get to the matchup, the Bucs matchup, where there's certainly some advantage the Eagles have if they can protect. But I just think Sirianni's got I love this term identity marker. It's a little bit hard to explain, but they've got to be known for something each week. If you're going to pass this much, you've got to be known for something. Your tight end dominates. You've got the rookie receiver is terrific so far. Smith has been everything they thought. And he'll actually get better. And you know how competitive he is. I love hearing him speak, by the way. So serious.
He's no nonsense.
I love him. Yeah, he went to Alabama, man. You know, these guys,
Yep. Dickerson is the same way.
Yeah.
No nonsense.
And then, with Mailata, he's come back from an MCL sprain. I don't think, he's healthy enough to practice and all that and play, but I don't know if he's quite back all the way physically. It's impossible to put a percentage on it. Weight transfer, I was told, wasn't terrific. He wasn't all the way back to where he was before the injury. It's going to take a couple weeks when you come back from a sprained knee, but it'll be better. You would assume this week, though. This D-line, this matchup is a whole lot different than Carolina's. Tampa's got a more stout defensive line, but that's what I got in the offense.
All right, good enough. We will switch to defense in a second and cover that. First, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code ITB. Bet just $1 on any NFL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. That's it, just scores a point. And that's promo code ITB this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. All right, well, the defense is a lot, more to write home about. We saw a whole lot of different stuff. We mentioned this in the postgame pod that it was pretty evident that you saw a lot more stunts and twists up front, some picking. You saw all this line movement both in the run and the pass.
Finally,
and I can only think that was situational and dictated by the fact that the Panthers don't have a good offensive line and the quarterback's a little erratic when pressured. But I still can't make sense of why that's not an almost an every week kind of gameplay. Again, you need to have a game plan, and they did other things too. You need to be able to divert this opposing running game to the outsides. You have to try your best to do that because you don't have downhill linebackers. And some of these things that we saw help do that, and you would have thought that you would have seen it earlier. Like, I thought the whole purpose of playing this defense was, if you're going to take these linemen who are more lighter and upfield guys, you were going to move them around and use that athleticism to their advantage and not wait for the right time when you're facing a poor offensive line. That's all.
Yeah, look, those line games that they played, the stunts were phenomenal. It's really interesting. They still really didn't blitz.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking Gannon, based on advanced study, tape study, and maybe what their pro personnel people gave them, I don't say they guessed. They just, through their analysis, their intel, they thought they could win, but with 4-man pressure. And man, did they dominate! This is an incredible stat from Next Gen Stats. I had this sent to me. I was like, I know it's right, but it seems hard to believe. They had 19 pressures in this game.
19 pressures.
Yeah, fourth most of any team in one game this season. Eagles think about this is what's amazing about the Eagles defensive line. I know against Dallas they were terrible, but overall they just don't. They're the 32nd they're the 32nd blitzing team in the National Football League. They just don't blitz.
Mm-hmm.
But they're number 3 overall in quarterback pressures. Here's a crazy stat for you: 34.2 pressure rate when bringing no more than 4 DLs. Against quarterbacks, they're number 2 in the NFL when only bringing 4. Cleveland is number 1. Cleveland's a team because they have a like Jackson's there, and with Clowney and obviously Myles Garrett, they're pretty good. They don't blitz a lot, but their 4-man pressure is it's for the most part really good. Mm-hmm. And you know what, Fletcher Cox, I understand why it's different for him. He the wide 9 is like stealing. It really is.
Oh God, yeah. It's
made for defense. It's a stats. It's a stats D-line for whatever you want to call it. It's the wide 9 front
favorable if you're a defensive
for numbers, right? But this is the crazy thing because we had Eagles not just D-line in this game. It was the 19 pressures came from everywhere. It wasn't just their D-line, but their starting 4 guys had pressures. Each of them had a pressure, which is good. But through 5 games, this is all you need to know, courtesy of Next Gen Stats, about Javon Hargrave, who was my breakout player of the year on defense. For an interior defensive lineman, 21 pressures through 5 games. Even more than Aaron Donald through 5 games since 2016. That's great he's
amazing. Been. That is amazing. Yeah, to your point on the wide 9 being very, stat friendly for defensive linemen. The wide 9 made Jason Babin look like Lawrence Taylor for a year.
I know he wasn't that good. Sorry, Jason.
He had 7 or 8 sacks through 5 games that year, and then he wound up with 18 or 19?
Speed rusher. Yeah, he was a speed rusher. The wide nine revived his career with Washburn, but
yeah, until they started, running draws to the left, they would watch him come upfield and then they would just run to his area and nobody would be within 5 miles of the running back.
Yeah. So look, we told you there would be no wide nine this year. That there's no it's all like I think we said this in like June. Like the wide nine, you act like you've never heard of it once the season starts.
Right.
But the thing that I have to say we didn't. They just didn't do some of the things we thought they would do. We knew they were going to be a zone team. That's 100%.
Mm-hmm.
We knew they weren't going to blitz very much, but we thought they blitzed more than they have. That has not happened. And we thought, you'd have that note back in like May or April. I don't know. I know it was before the draft about the stunts and twists because they weren't going to be a high blitz percentage team.
Right.
I don't know why. Okay, you don't want to do it every week. You were saying this a couple minutes ago. But, okay, the Panthers have a bottom 5 line. They have a really bad offensive line, no question about it. That's why they felt that they could win. Gannon was right about this. He nailed this. He thought they could win without blitzing. But there's some other times it doesn't have to be like against a very bad offensive line. Against an average line, you can do this. I just don't know sometimes why coaches sometimes overthink this stuff.
Yep. No, I'm with you. I mean, at very least, I wanted to know what you thought your plan was. If you weren't going to do that, if you were just going to run your normal, 4-2, 5, or when Jannard Avery was in the game, you run 5-1 or 5-2 fronts. How are you going to stop the run with those linebackers who are not downhill linebackers if you don't do anything? Now, this game against the Panthers, you saw Jannard Avery was out there again. He was barely out there against the Chiefs. He was out there again, but more often than even before. He used to be out there in base, right? And the only time they would come with 3 linebackers was when the opponent had either 2 tight ends or a fullback in the game. When they're heavy, you go heavy. There were times against the Panthers where the Panthers came out in 11 personnel. They would have 1 tight, 3 wide, and Avery still would be there, and he would be on the line. And what happens is now you have 5 guys on the line on first down, right? And so your 5 men on the offensive line, they can't double team anybody because now they have to single block. And because they can't double team, they can't drive either whatever DT they want to double team. They can't drive them back 5 or 6 yards and then into the linebacker, which is basically what Dallas and Kansas City did. So that was the adjustment, and that was good. Plus, we saw a whole bunch of rotations at linebacker. We saw TJ Edwards on the field at times. We saw Davion Taylor. And I'm pretty sure
You look good.
I'm pretty sure, and maybe you spoke to people about this, because the all-22 is just so foobarred right now. I had so much struggle with it. I mean, I don't know if you even tried to toy with it this week, but
no, I just got it. I talked to 2 or 3 people about the Eagles
I would hit
team.
Rewind, and it would fast forward. It had a mind of its own. I don't know what's going on with the all-22 on Game Pass, but anyway. Eric Wilson, from what I was able to glean, did not play a whole lot on first down. It seemed like he got that role taken away from him, which I think is warranted.
Yeah, I mean, TJ Edwards didn't play a lot, but he clearly played on base downs when they thought they needed run downs. Yeah. Davion Taylor, what I was told was mentally he did did really well. He didn't, like last year when they had him out there, he just wasn't there yet. Obviously this is a new defense for him. And the other thing is he looks very healthy. He moved well. The tape showed it. That's a good thing. He's earned playing time. He actually played 34% of the snaps. Now I look at it. Avery was the 5th defender in the box. They were back to doing that. Now the run defense, it's still leaky, but this is what I was saying before the season started. Run defense is not a big deal, but you don't want to let it keep your defense on the field longer than it needs to be. You don't want to give up on third down a big run or keep moving the football where your defense can't get off the field and they're exhausted. That obviously is a problem sometimes. But this game, okay, Chuba Hubbard had a good game, but he didn't hurt the Eagles. Their coverage was so tight. That's the other thing I wanted to talk about. Their coverage was so good. And they disguised, I was told. They disguised some. Not a lot. They still played cover 2, 4, and 6. Some cover 3. Some man, they did play some man, and as Gannon confirmed, something we had heard. I think we actually talked a little bit about it on our post-game show. Slay talked about it too. Slay was trailing quite a bit in the game, and boy, they did a great job. They completely shut him down. Yeah,
I did see a couple of snaps where it appeared to be that they were playing man on one side and zone on the other, and I think that's because they were matching up Slay on DJ Moore, and then less worried about a singular matchup on the other side of the field and more of a zone look there. So yeah, no, they definitely disguised it. This was the game that sort of illustrates Jonathan Gannon's philosophy that it's okay if we give, like you said, that coaches feel it's okay if we're bending on the run because it's really hard for teams to go down the field 10, 11, 12, 13 plays without a penalty or a turnover or a bad pass or whatever. And the Panthers had some penalties, but then they also had 3 turnovers, right? They had the 3 interceptions. So that totally changed. I mean, that totally changed how that game was. And then obviously the block punt as well, although that's not offensive. But this is what he has in mind. The problem is, how many teams are you going to play that are going to do that? I know that the NFL is so Jekyll and Hyde right now. It's, you know, for the last 3 weeks, the Eagles have played 2 of the best teams, offenses in football, I should say. Not teams, because the Chiefs don't look like one of the best teams in football right now, but certainly one of the best offenses.
Yeah.
And then they go and play Carolina, which had looked good, but obviously you got to them. And now you're going to go play Tampa Bay with the best team in the league. And after that, you're going to go settle down. Yeah.
Right.
And then
not having McCaffrey
did hurt.
Which I forgot to mention. That clearly helped him because he would have crushed them in the pass game. The Eagles linebackers would have been tested. But looking at my notes here, the other thing they did an outstanding job was carrying the wide receiver to the correct zone. It was really bad with Tyreek Hill. They made mistakes in terms of, you know, their responsibility is to carry him to a certain area and hand off. It was terrible in the game against the Chiefs. They did a really good job in their zones. It was tight. They played tight coverage, which was similar to Atlanta. They had it going on. They made Sam Darnold frenetic. He looked like he did with the Jets. Confused. The thing that you do is when you get pressure on a quarterback, and they did pressure him a lot. When you get Jaws told me this like decades ago when I watched film with him and Cosell at NFL Films. When you continually get pressure on a quarterback, it starts getting to them. It starts getting to their mind, and
yes,
it got to him. And that great the pick by, was it Nelson? Who had the? I know Slay had a
ceiling pick was Steven Nelson.
That was a great read. He read his eyes. He that was phenomenal. That was just he saw the whole thing coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, I mean, overall, really good performance by the Eagles defense. Got really nothing to really nitpick about, and
not really. I can't. Can you think of anything?
No, I mean, they got hit by the screen game a little bit, right? Just a little bit, that more than you'd like. Couple, I think Hubbard had an 11-yarder. The tight end caught a screen for a little bit. DJ Moore had one, but other than that, not so bad. There was a 26-yard run by Hubbard, so I'm sure that they would have liked to have had a little better contain on that. But, you know, again, that's being nitpicky. Unfortunately for them, they got to go up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next. So all the good vibes you get one day could be dashed 4 days later. We'll see. We are going to preview that game. We'll move on to that now. First, if you want to get an advantage over your sports book, you got to download BetQL. It's the only app you'll need to make smart bets. They've got a best bets computer model that scans over 350,000 unique bets a year to give you a best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports and gives you the reasoning behind why you should place that bet. Their model covers everything from spreads, over-unders, and player prop bets. And if you don't want to use the model, you want to do the research yourself, BetQL's got the necessary tools for your betting research needs. They've got everything from sharp data, line movement, team summaries, lineup and injury breaking news, even a leaderboards to track your success. So go to the App Store, go to the Google Play Store, download BetQL. You can also head to try.betql.co/ITB. And when you get started, use the discount code ITB at checkout for 25% off any of their subscription offerings. Also, check out their sportsbook offers page if you live in one of the eligible states to claim free offers upon signing up at one of the many sportsbooks listed. So don't miss out on the chance to beat your sportsbook this fall season with BetQL. All right, so the champs are here. The champs are coming to town. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And well, let's go through a few things first as far as housekeeping with injuries and transactions. And
yes,
it's sad to say, but the the Nick Eubanks era for the Eagles is over. He was released from the practice squad, the tight end, along with Travis Fulgham. So that era is over as well. Not really surprising, Adam. I mean, the fall for Travis has been pretty precipitous, and you can they weren't even protecting him on the practice squad last few
there
weeks.
you go.
John Hightower was. So, I mean, that
tells you a lot.
Tells you all you need to know. Right?
Yeah, he on Tuesday he signed to the Dolphins practice squad. So yeah, even if the Dolphins didn't sign him, my sense is when I called you, or what is it? What is today? Wednesday morning. When I told you Monday early afternoon, I said I'm hearing Fulgham's probably going to be cut.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they kind of had enough. They didn't see the progress they needed to see. You're right. I mean, you said it very well. That his fall from it's almost a year now. I'd have to look up the dates when he started kicking ass. I know it was in October. You know, that Steeler game was phenomenal. He just looked like what you want an NFL receiver. Tall, 6'2.5". He's a little bit older, by the way, but 6'2.5", could run, good route runner. Then we were hearing things about the immaturity, and he wasn't taking the coaching. And the Lions coaches, as we were told, didn't want him. They didn't want him. They just had enough.
Yep.
This is the fourth team he's with, the Dolphins. That tells you all you need to know. The kid's gifted, but at some point he's got to point the finger at himself. I wish him luck.
Yeah, I do hope he does kind of figure it out because he had some special talents, and it would be nice to see that.
He still has it too. It's just
yeah. But while one era is over, another one begins as the Eagles get Noah Togiai back from he was with the Colts last year, and he was out on the street, and they actually might need him now with Dallas Goedert on the COVID-19 list, but Noah Togiai is back along with Christian Ellis, the linebacker, to the practice squad. So good to see Noah back. People we never. I swear, sometimes people run with things. We talked about Noah a lot and losing him a lot. We never at any point said he was going to be some kind of unbelievable tight end. It was more about the process that we spoke of having a player that you liked, that you wanted to keep, and letting him get away. And they could have used more tight end help last year because both Goddard and Ertz were hurt at times. And so who knows? So, no, of course, it's not like we thought he was going to go somewhere and be a 5-time Pro Bowler, but people overreact to some of the things that we say.
I get a kick out of it. People are killing us on the our Facebook board has been really good lately. By the way, we weeded out the people you wanted us to remove. We took care of it.
Cool.
We got the private message about, hey, this guy's out of control, blah, blah. The good thing is once we ban them, they can't even find the board. We don't tolerate anything. We don't explain anything. If you're a jerk, if you're disrespectful to people on the board, you're out. We don't give you a second chance. We have better things to do and worry about this stuff. And we appreciate everybody who goes on there. There's some really heated discussions, but respectful for the most part. Mm-hmm. Because people were fired up. We said that, look, it was more of a ugly win, but they won, and people were happy about it. And, people are liking that, so far that Carson Wentz is playing well, and their hope is that he'll play enough to get the Eagles have their 3 first-round picks next year. So people fired up about that. So that's that. So then, so Goddard on Tuesday was placed on the reserve COVID list, unfortunately. Then they did protect Togiai, Hightower, LaRaven Clark, and Elijah Riley, who they obviously really like. But Goddard, it's highly unlikely he'll make it to get those 2 negative tests and be asymptomatic for 24 hours. It's interesting. Monday, I don't know if you caught this. I know they didn't practice. They had a walkthrough. He didn't work, and it was illness, which could suggest he didn't feel right, and then took the test, and then tested positive. So,
how about that? Yeah, no, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I looked it up. I was like, I wonder, did he work Monday? And I looked at the injury report and it said, yeah, illness, and he did not participate in their walkthrough. So this is not good. Obviously, the timing's bad. They do have obviously Zach Ertz and Jack Stoll, but you could gamble and dress 2 tight ends, and the Eagles have done that before. You're asking for trouble. Now, what we don't know is where Togiai, he had an injury with the Colts. I think they waived him off IR. Mm-hmm. So the question is, who's going to be ready? Because they cut Eubanks, who've been there for a couple weeks. They could have had him active for this game. So right now, the only tight end they have on their practice squad is Togiai. So, and he wasn't with this coaching staff last year, so he's not exactly going to know this offense. So it's a little bit of a challenge, even if they need him.
Well, he was kind of with this coaching staff last year, wasn't he? Because he was with Sirianni and he was with Patullo.
Yeah, but not to run this
report.
No, yes, but not to run the same offense.
No, but it is the same position. It's the same tight end coach too. Am I not? Am I?
Jason Michael, right? But it's again, it's
no,
not,
it is a different offense though.
Right, it's not the same offense. Like they know him, but is it really going to be? See, I thought, like I think you would agree, we were going to see a lot of Frank Reich, more of a balanced offense.
Yeah, I thought
we haven't seen that through 5 games. You know, where I get Jonathan Taylor's a big sturdy back. What a great game against Baltimore, by the way. Where you've got Miles Sanders, you're not seeing that. Now, Togiai is a guy that Jason Michael knows because he coached him last year, but does he know this offense? That's what I'm saying is I don't know if he's going to know this offense that they're running here because it's not the Indianapolis offense, the Eagles offense, and this is the first time Sirianni's called plays. So they may need a third tight end for this game, so we'll see what they do. Or they could obviously go with Laraven Clark as a 6th offensive lineman if they want to activate him from the practice squad just to have someone to block. They could always do that.
Yeah, they could always do that. All right, so other moves there. I guess that really is their moves. As far as the Bucs, they've got some major injuries that they're dealing with. You know, one being Tom Brady, who had a right thumb injury. I imagine he's going to play.
He said he's playing. Yeah, he said he's definitely playing. It's just
what I wonder is, you know, because they're obviously going to be discreet. I'm sure he's going to play and give it a go. I wonder if he'll be able to make it through the game. You know, he may get hit on the thumb. It may inflame while he's playing. I mean, that's a tough injury to throw a football with. Do you know at what point in the game, at what point on the way to 45 points, he might have suffered that thumb injury? Because if it was early in the game, then I guess there's really nothing to be worried about.
Right, it's 5 touchdowns. It was just target practice. Gosh, it's just. Were you at that practice so many years ago when Brady came in here and had the best practice we've ever seen from a quarterback?
Yeah.
Every pass was anticipation. It was. I was shaking. It was really cool to see it because it's always great to see the best player of all time at his position throw in front of you, and it was just ridiculous. It was target practice then. He had target practice against the Dolphins. So yeah, he talked about it on Tuesday about how he's taking it easy up to the game because he normally would have more time to prepare, but he doesn't because they're on a short week. And Gronk with the broken ribs, Bruce Arians is like, he's got a chance. He's got a chance. Well, he's in practice since he got hurt. He's got broken ribs.
Yeah.
How do you practice? They don't have a practice this week. They have walkthroughs. It's highly unlikely he'd play, but they're leaving a small window open, and Levante David is certainly not expected to play. That's a big one with his high ankle sprain. Though he's an advanced. Yeah, he's a coverage player, he's a run player. That's big. Kevin Minter is a guy who's a journeyman. You might remember him he played for Arians with the Cardinals, and he was a former second-round pick, overdrafted, I think, by the Cardinals. But Cardinals, Bengals, and been on and off the Bucs roster. But that would be a downgrade. But look, overall, any issue with Brady is good for the Eagles. If he's not squeezing the ball, as you talked about, it's a fair point. If he's just off a little bit, hey, we'll see. We'll
take any advantage. Yeah, these by the way are the more recent injuries. They've already been without both of their cornerbacks, right? Murphy Bunting has been out.
Oh yeah.
So has Carlton Davis.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So they're two.
Richard Sherman in there.
Yep. So here it is. Here's their corners here. Both their starting corners are on IR. Carlton Davis is going to be out for several weeks. Sean Murphy Bunting has a dislocated elbow. He's getting closer. They're not available. So Jamel Dean, who was their nickel, is now starting, and Richard Sherman, potential Hall of Famer. What's funny about Sherman is, like, they sign him, and he said during the week, I need at least a week. I'm not going to be able to play this week. They played him the week that he signed.
That's amazing.
And he did okay. He played almost all the snaps. Like,
some guys
I don't know. They're asking for trouble. What's that?
Right? Some guys are just built different. They're just
he's an amazing player.
They are.
I'm so old. I was at the Senior Bowl when they brought him in there. They flew him in overnight. He was an injury replacement. Come out of Stanford. And I'm like, I'd heard of him because he came from Stanford, but I remember him starting his career as a receiver there and moving to corner. And that he got himself on the map. And he became a great player. And then Ross Cockrell, by the way, he's been toasted and roasted. Every time he plays a lot, he gets beat. And Dee Delaney's had to play at times a lot. And Pierre Desir, who's a journeyman tall guy. I know people have asked us about him. So Sirianni, I'm sure he sees this. And Antoine Winfield, by the way, if Antoine Winfield Jr. didn't play in the last game with a concussion, he's very questionable to play. He needs to get cleared. If not, Mike Edwards is a good player, would come in and start. And old friend Andrew Adams is on the team. He's their other safety.
Yes, he is. I liked your little Clyde Frazier toasted and roasted reference there. I like that little rhyme scheme that you had going on. Okay.
Yeah.
I could dig it. All right, so yeah, they're obviously very banged up, and especially on defense. And Pierre-Paul has also been out for a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
He's got two injuries, right? Hand and shoulder, yep. Right. He's not the same this season, but the guy to watch is my man Joe Tryon, number 9.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to bring it. Shaq Barrett had a good game last week. He's kind of not been great this season, but they got speed, man. We'll get to that in a second. We
will. And as far as Eagles injuries, we mentioned Dallas Goedert. They're relatively healthy. And Lane Johnson's still out with a personal matter, so it's hard to see him at this point playing Thursday night. But other than that, it seems like everybody else is pretty good to go. So let's talk about the Eagles offense versus that Buccaneers defense that you were mentioning. The one thing that you can say about the Bucs, it doesn't really matter how many guys they pull off the street to play. They're going to do the same thing, and that's blitz you more. And then when you think they're done blitzing, Todd Bowles going to dial up another blitz because they are, once again, number 1 in the league in blitz percentage. It's just what they do. The weird thing is, Adam, they're not even – they're actually one of the lower-ranked teams in sacks per pass attempt. So they're blitzing a lot, but they're not getting to the quarterback as much as they normally do.
And part of it's because of Pierre-Paul's injury, and they're not getting Barrett unleashed like he had, a couple years ago when we had around 20 sacks. He's a good player, and he's short. He's about 6'1". He's been a great story. He's an undrafted free agent from Denver.
Right.
He's really developed. It's been a good story. Will Golston is still there, number 92, the D lineman.
Right.
Good run stopper. They're stout with Sue and Vita Vea.
Vita Vea is one of my favorite players.
So
watch.
Good.
That guy is just a beast.
He's strong as hell. Yeah, this is going to be a challenge for the young guys on the Eagles offensive line here with Dickerson, Driscoll, Mailata, and Dillard. They're starting to get themselves together a little bit. They had a couple issues last week, but overall not bad. But this is a much better defensive line. It's a 34 front. The Carolina does multiple stuff too, but Tampa has got a better front seven. They're more experienced. You mentioned it, Todd Bowles. The thing is, though, they don't play as much man coverage as you think. They play plenty of zone. He'll zone it up, and they're going to have to play zone a lot because that's what Sherman does. Plus, they're so down with corners, because they're missing a bunch of guys. They're going to have to play zone, and I'm going to be interested to see how Sirianni attacks that.
Here's what worries me about the way Tampa Bay plays defense for what the Eagles do. They're very stout against the run, as you mentioned. So we already know the Eagles aren't running a whole lot. So you worry about run abandonment straight from the beginning. And because they blitz a lot and because they have not been great in pass defense, you can hit shot plays on them. So it kind of reminds me of that San Francisco game. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. That's what a screen can be a shot play, meaning just like a big play.
Gaskin got him.
Right. So, we saw the Eagles try 6 screens and the opponent knew it was coming. So I'm sure that the Buccaneers will know it's coming too. And then remember in the San Francisco game, we said, look, these corners are bad. They're backups. They're pulling guys off the street like Norman. You got to test them. But it seemed like in that game, one of the issues was all they did was try to do kind of vertical shot plays and not have a basic offense built in there to set those up. So you just kind of, for a team that's already struggling with an identity and a play calling approach, you kind of worry about this kind of matchup for them. Plus, they're going to feel the need that they've got to score a lot of points just to keep pace with Tampa. I'd almost rather them, I hate to say this, I'm not trying to say wave the white flag, but I almost want them to take the approach, let's just do what we do best, that we think we do well, that can hurt them in certain areas offensively and defensively, and not worry about the whole, well, we got to outscore them or we got to outflank them on certain blitzes. And just come up with what you think you do best. No one thinks you're going to win anyway.
Well, okay. This is when we were talking about the identity marker. What did the Eagles do best on offense? What did they do well on offense?
Throw the ball to Devontae Smith.
Okay, that's one thing. What else?
So let's talk about the Eagles defense.
but they can't. But here, okay. Let me respond to that. Okay. Myles Gaskin crushed them last week. They what I like is they have dual coordinators with Dolphins, but it's really not George Godsey. One of the guys used to coach for the Patriots, who calls the plays.
Yeah.
They said we're not going to try to run. They only ran the ball with the running back 6-7 times in the game. They also got crushed. They were getting killed. But they got Gaskin. The pass that he caught for the touchdown, he wasn't even covered. Like they kept throwing it. He caught all 10 targets. So, okay, the Eagles know this. Miles Sanders can do this. We brought this up. It's been 2 years since that Minnesota game where they ran him on that route deep downfield, and he made that great play. Start using Sanders in the pass game past 2 yards. Send him down. Send Kenny Gainwell. He can do this. He lined up the X position at Memphis. Start doing that. Expand these guys in the passing game.
Yeah, and that wasn't fair. They do a couple of things. I mean, they're 10th in the red zone, which isn't bad. It's not great, but it's pretty good.
But before you get there,
they're good in red zone, when they're not wiping away their own touchdowns. And I do think they mix in read option, not run pat, not RPO, read option. I think when they execute it, it's usually after a running play every once in a while, because now the defense is keyed in on, they just ran it. Let's key in on the running back, and then that's when Hurts keeps it and goes left or right and picks up yards. I think they do that well too. But this is a tough defense to kind of do those things because their edge defenders are not young, except for Tryon, though. Maybe you do catch Tryon playing the run a little bit with all that speed, and then you get a few option keepers there for Jalen Hurts over the left side, and he picks up big yards. That would be something that I think would be sensible.
Yeah, look, I especially if Levante Davidson playing with his high ankle sprain, there are going to be some plays you can make, but as you said, and it's a good point, you just can't get so throwing centric. Like if you're gonna make that decision, I don't agree with it that they go so crazy with throwing the football, but if you're going to do it, use your playmakers. Goddard, Smith, as obvious. He's a number one so far. Goddard, Smith, Watkins. Does everything have to be a shot play? Could you run them on a post? Could you run them on a slant? A wide receiver screen. I know they've done it. They did it in the preseason. Using Jalen Reagor, using the running backs in the backfield past a couple yards. Use them in the slot. Use them on crossers. Just be more creative. Show them stuff you haven't done yet. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's flip it and talk about Eagles defense versus Tampa Bay offense. First, we want to remind you to check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of Philadelphia sports teams for the fan, by the fan. That is their motto, so make sure you're checking them out at PHLSportsNation.com and also on Twitter at PHLSportsNation. Let's pause real quick for another word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. And if you happen to go into Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get the best deal. All right, so here's a thing to ask about Eagles defense versus Tampa Bay offense. All right, if you're going to show a little bit more man like you did against the Panthers, which guy are you using Slay to man up?
They won't. There's no way they're going to do it. There's no way. They have to play all zone.
Yeah,
I know it's a lot to ask, but blitzing Blady's futile. He's incredible at the blitz, but because he doesn't move very well. You don't have to get sacks. You have to make him move off his spot. When defensive had success against him, it's his feet. I've seen it. He struggles when you get near his feet. So Hargrave has got to bring it like he always does. Cox played very well last week. He's got to bring it. Line games now, they have a very good offensive. Their offensive line, the Bucs, is top 5, top 7. Remember, they ran it back. They brought everyone back. Ali Marpet from Hobart, the lacrosse school. Donovan Smith, Ryan Jensen, who's good. Alex Kappa, who was hurt last year. Aaron Stenifield for him in the Super Bowl, but he's back healthy. Tristan Wirfs, who's done well at right tackle. Their depth is terrible. If somebody gets hurt, certainly would have an advantage for the Eagles, but they're really good. They're a top 5, top 7 offensive line. It's going to be hard. But these guys, they have to understand the Eagles, to pull off an upset, and would be a major upset, the defensive line's got to bring it like they've not you thought they brought it last game, they got to bring it 2 or 3-fold. They got to bring it and be relentless and make Brady move off his spot. That's the only chance you have, because the Eagles are not deep enough. You got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin is explosive, playing with a couple of minor injuries, but no Gronk, O.G. Howard and Cameron Brate. Brate's a big red zone guy for them. They don't run the ball very much. When they do it, it's Fournette. Fournette's a phenomenal pass protector. That's been always his thing. He's clearly the lead back. Gio Bernard, you'll see him on some third downs. He's playing with a minor MCL sprain, but he'll play. And the great Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
See, Brown's staying out of trouble, and he's been terrific.
Yep.
Tyler Johnson,
weapons, man. Too many weapons. Too many weapons.
I know, and they don't even have Gronk, most likely. So I just, to me, this is tough. I give Jonathan Gannon credit. Called a great game last week.
Mm-hmm.
I understand he's limited to what he can do. They're a zone team in general, though they played more man coverage in this past game than they did in any other game. This has got to be a zone team because they just cannot match up to these guys.
Right.
Here's the thing we haven't talked about. This is what someone suggested to me a little bit, just to hold them up a little bit. Don't be so scared that you're so backed off. You can get physical. You've got 5 yards to push these guys. Steven Nelson's a feisty guy. Chris Godwin is explaining to me doesn't always do well when you're physical with him. Just try to get your jam if you can a little bit. If you're not, you're going to let these guys run free just like you did against Kansas City. It's going to be a long night.
Yeah, now that's more of a Maddox responsibility, right? Because Godwin mainly plays the slot.
He plays everything, actually.
They move him around a lot.
Right, so does AB. They'll move both those guys around. Godwin's their fastest guy. They haven't taken a lot of shot plays with him. Brown has been everywhere. He's playing great football. This is a tough thing, man. I would not like to be Gannon calling this game. This is going to be tough.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not going to be easy. Too many weapons. Mike Evans himself is going to be a tough matchup because the Eagle corners are not as tall and physical as Mike Evans is. Not very few are, obviously. So, yeah, I think I tend to agree with you. I think it's going to be mostly zone. You hope you get the front. But look, the recipe for a win here, for an upset, is the Super Bowl recipe. And I'm not talking about the Eagles Super Bowl. I'm talking about the Giants 2 times. They beat up Tom Brady with a front 4 rush. First year it was Tuck and Umanura and Strahan, and then the second time it was no Strahan. It was there was a changing of there wasn't the same 3, right? The first Super Bowl was Tuck, Strahan, and somebody, and then the second one wound up being Umanura, Tuck, and somebody, I believe. If I can dig back into my memory banks. Do you remember who it was?
7 Super Bowl.
Yeah. Tuck, Umanura.
It was in that Super Bowl. It was it was O.C. Strahan, Barry Cofield, and Fred Robbins were the D tackles.
Right. Wasn't there another pass rusher though that would come in and play defensive tackle?
Justin Tuck.
Tuck. So it was Tuck, O.C., and Strahan.
Yep.
And then by 2012,
they played NASCAR. Right. They played NASCAR. Tuck would be inside.
Right. When they went to 2012, though, one of those guys was not there. I think Tuck was gone by then. He might have been a Raider or something like that by that point. I'd have to. I just can't remember who else they used.
The 12, they were not in Super Bowl. Which year was it?
Whatever. 4 years later, when they won the Super Bowl again over the.
Okay, yeah, that was against the Patriots. That one was Pierre Paul and Tuck were your ends.
Pierre Paul, thank you. That I couldn't remember it. That's
JPP. Yep, JPP. And Chris Canny is in radio for, I think, ESPN Radio, and Linville Joseph. Yes, good call.
Yeah.
Kiwi Nuka. You're right. Remember Kiwi?
Matthias. Yeah, but I think they made him into a linebacker, though. I don't know.
They did. They made him as a stand-up. Right. Kiwi. Yep. Yeah. No, good call, man. Yeah.
But that's what you got to do. You got to, like you just said, you got to get your front 4. It's got to be about Cox and Hargrave and
got to bring it.
And yeah, but it's tough because Brady gets rid of the ball quickly and their offensive line's really good. So I don't really know what else we could say about that. You want to make a prediction before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Bucs 30, Eagles 20.
Bucs 30, Eagles 20. I like that. All right, I'm gonna say Bucs 29, Eagles
29.
Yeah,
where are you coming up with that? A safety?
Yeah. I mean, it just happened last game.
I know. They had one last year against the Cardinals.
You know how many missed extra points there were this past week?
By the way, I'm just going to say, and those poor Colts. That poor kick.
I know.
Oh, my God. Wentz was played out of his mind. He played such a great game, and Frank Reich called such a good game to choke like that. But the kickers, There were five missed field goals in the Bengals Packers game. Give me at least 5. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Bucs 29, Eagles 17. That's
only 17. All right. Actually, I picked our score than you. That might be the first time ever.
How about that? How about it?
Wow.
All right, that's going to do it. I think we've covered everything from the tape review to the preview of the game. I hope everybody enjoys the game Thursday night. And again, check out our preview show from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock on the Inside the Birds YouTube and social media platforms. It's going to be a great time. Looking forward to having Baldy on with us. And that'll do it for this edition of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks, as always, to Hunter Brody. Make sure you check out his sports talk page there on YouTube. It's called Sports Talk with Broads, and his Twitter account @Broads81. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.